Hi everyone, welcome to SOMCZ YouTube channel. So tonight we're going to do something totally different. I know for the last few weeks you saw me interview business owners. Although these are business owners, we're going to dig into my book, Purpose Knockout. And chapter 1 is The Fight of a Fatherless Daughter. So tonight I have Miss Bess and Miss Etheridge on, and we're going to discuss being fatherless. And then one of the other things was Miss Bess told me she was fatherless and motherless. So we're going to talk about the different aspects of not having that parent, the things it caused as we were growing up, and where we are now, and how we took those things and we basically knocked out our purpose. We took it and we made it a stepping stone. And I'm gonna give you a little bit about the book before I start talking to them, because I'm gonna let them tell their story and we're just gonna get in a dialogue of just talking. This is not script. We are giving it straight, raw, and uncut. So you are getting it raw and uncut tonight. Purpose Knockout. This actually, Mo is the character. This is actually a true story. So I took my life from childhood up until adulthood and I made it a book because I felt like kids, teenagers needed to know, regardless of whether you had a father or not, you can still be somebody. Regardless, my second chapter is single parent. So regardless of you a single parent, you can still make it. In the next chapter, I basically talk about purpose and how I took all of that and I molded it into who I am now. So the whole book is about really knocking all those obstacles out of the way that should have basically made me be somebody else. But I put it all together and built myself and made me who I am today. So the same thing with these young ladies, because I've been watching them. I know them and they are dynamic, so I know they knocked it out the window too. So we're just gonna start and we're gonna talk about just as a child, how did not having that parent or either both parents affect you? I know for me, I went in the mode of fighting. I dated all the wrong boys, all the wrong boys. I know when I go back and look back, I was like, did I have a jailbird teenager? Because all my men was jailbirds, or either they ended up going to jail. That ain't good. So let's talk about that. We're gonna start with Miss Etheridge first. We're gonna talk about how it affected you as a teenager and kind of like ease your way up until now and how you use it to be who you are.
Hi, I am Monsina Etheridge, and I was raised by my grandparents. Actually, I was raised by my mother's parents, and by the time I started elementary school, I started living with my mom. By that time, my mom and my dad they was divorced, but they actually, to back up a little bit, when I came home from the hospital, I came home to my grandparents' house. My dad didn't even come back with my mom. They was legally married, but they just didn't come back. So to fast forward to being a teenager, um, it was kind of hard. It was very hard because I was the firstborn, and I've heard so many times that I reminded people of my dad because we look alike, we stand alike, we walk alike, and I looked at myself as being an ugly duckling because here I am, tall, skinny, bow leg, big nose, and I didn't have the friends. I was pretty much as a loner. So as a teenager in high school, I actually was a nerd. I was a nerd, and I just dug deep into the books. I didn't have to study. I just skimmed through it, and I got what I needed.
I needed you on my side. You should have been my friend.
I grew up in the country of Saluda, South Carolina, on a farm in the sticks. So we didn't go anywhere. I didn't go anywhere. I had two younger siblings, and I was really responsible for them. My mom was a single parent, and I was responsible. I had to grow up quick. And I had some resentment because of that. I resented my mom for letting my grandparents raise me. I resented my dad because he wasn't there, and I felt that he didn't fight for me, that he didn't fight for his family, and I just knew that when I turned 18, I was getting out of there because I was longing that. And even at the age of 15, I ran away from my home, from my mom's home, and I ran away to live with my dad. And I remember just at his house, just chilling, and there was a knock at the door. There was the police coming to get me, the police and DSS social worker, to let me know that I couldn't stay with my dad, and I couldn't understand why. And it wasn't until I became a senior in high school that I understood my daddy's lifestyle. He was an
Okay.
alcoholic. He did drugs. He loved the street. He loved his women. He loved to acknowledge that he had a child and children, but he didn't pay his child support. He just did not do it, and it resulted to, when I got older, the type of guys I dated was, they kind of like need to be fixed. Um, they had heavy baggage from their father, and I didn't know that. And when I started looking back over my life, I realized, wow, I was dating my daddy, minus the drugs and alcohol. And
That's normally how it goes.
yeah,
If we all would agree, um, majority of the time we're dating that very thing that we don't like, or
yeah,
that very thing that we're missing.
yeah,
And that's one of the things I think that we need to tell our young girls now that are fatherless, that you can't, what I always tell my daughter is, write down everything that you don't like about what he do or what you're missing, and you make sure you don't feel that void with that type of man.
yeah.
Make sure you don't, you know what I'm saying? Even if he's estranged from his father, make sure that he has an understanding or has some type of man in his life that can help him and build him, because you don't want to get in a relationship with your daddy, because the same way you dislike your daddy, you're gonna dislike that man.
But the crazy thing was, I absolutely loved my father, and my mama could not understand, how can you love this man who have not been there for you? But I was a true daddy's girl. I love my daddy, and I want to be my daddy. But I didn't like the fact that he did drugs, and I didn't like the fact that he smoked cigarettes, and he was an alcoholic. Um, and it was like, when I started dating, it was like, that was a number one criteria. That was a deal breaker. You cannot do those three things. But I ended up still dating my daddy anyway, because they was all broken. They was all
So,
broken.
so how did you, as a business owner, a multi-business owner, you go different businesses.
Oh
So
wow.
as a business owner, because y'all see she got them sister locks, she
Yeah.
does those. You see I'm doing commercials in the middle. So so how do you, as a business owner, as a woman now, look back over your life and the fact that your father wasn't present? How do you look at that and determine what it made you go hard in, or how it molded you into who you are?
Well, I will also add, my dad was incarcerated a whole lot, so that was another
Okay.
reason why he wasn't around. And throughout my life, I wanted to make him proud, and I wanted one thing that I could connect myself to with my dad.
Okay.
And my dad was a hustler. He loved to shoot pool, and he just, people just fascinated about his skills. And little did I know that I had the talent and the skill that I had of making jewelry, of being a massage therapist, of being an entrepreneur. And because he was not in my life, I just felt that, I need to make him proud of something that I have done, that if he was alive today, that he can say, this is what my baby girl has done. And
Okay.
and to know that, before he died, that those last moments I spent with him for 2 months, almost daily. I was with him, his caregiver. And through that all, my jewelry business began to grow, because I started making a lot of jewelry out of frustration of what my daddy was, he was dying of cancer. And I was just frustrated that my last days was with him while he was sick. But I was just like making jewelry like crazy, and I just used that energy, that that was like my foundation. in a sense, like my stepping stone, that I can say that, you know, not having him and then having him was kind of like a blessing in disguise.
Okay. So for you, yours, that's why I love this, because everybody's different. So for you, for me, mine's was present far as I could see him when I go to my grandmother's. I can see him at the store, or I can see him in the street, but far as being present in my life and a participant of my life, he wasn't there. So instead of me wanting him, I went towards all the people that basically, now that I'm older, realized that was just like him. So I started dating the people that was just like him, or I started showing out in school to try to get his attention, but it didn't work. So with you, you are for the me, I'm for the girl that wants her daddy and doing the extra stuff to try to get her daddy attention, and she's showing out and cutting up and doing all this extra stuff, and still it didn't get his attention. But for you, you're that girl that loves her daddy, even though her dad is absent, and even though her dad is not present. You're that little girl that say, okay, I'm gonna do everything I need to do to make my daddy proud, because even though he has those habits and those conditions, that if he wasn't in that situation, if he could just get over that, he could be just like me.
Yeah.
He could be a hustler like me. So since he can't get past that addiction, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So that's for that little girl that I love my daddy despite who he is and what he is, that I'm gonna overachieve, and I'm gonna do everything that I saw in him. I'm gonna put it inside of me, and I'm gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
For me, it was, I gotta be better, because we're those dysfunctional kids. You know how family feel like, because your daddy jacked up, all your kids gonna be jacked up. You know how our family do. They talk around behind your back, and they call you all the jacked up kids. And because your daddy jacked up, your daddy out here doing everything. And don't get me wrong, my daddy is smart as a whistle. When I say smart, he's smart. He just make dumb decisions. And because of him making dumb decisions, he have children that are smart, and we've learned to take what we seen growing up, and we learned to not be it. Mm-hmm. So all of us came collectively, have literally, we make our mistakes, and we went down those roads, but we learned to be better, because we didn't want to turn out like that. And then we had a point to prove that we're not those jacked up kids. Yeah. So because we had a point to prove, for me, any little girl that's listening, or woman, I'm that little girl that said, okay, they say my daddy kids jacked up. My daddy has made bad decisions. He hasn't been there. Although I had a stepdad that did everything under the sun, taught me how to ride a four-wheeler, taught me how to work on my car, taught me everything under the sun, I still wanted my daddy. Because I know we love our stepdads, don't get me wrong, but there's still a piece missing, because I don't have that bloodline with me. He's not, I don't have that attachment. No matter how many stepdads, we got a stepdad, we don't have that attachment. It's something about that biological father. Yeah. That stepdad, he can do everything in the world right. He just can't fill that void. No. And so for the little girl that's in that situation, just know that just like me, just like Miss Etheridge, you can overcome. So now we're going to hear the story of Miss Bess. So I want you to kind of like, hey, love, I want you to give a kind of just a breakdown of your whole story, and how you became who you are, and the different things of what you went through that made you get to this place right here in life.
Okay, awesome. So for me, mine is a little different. My father was actually murdered at 7. So he was deceased pretty much, growing up. So I didn't have him around because he was deceased. And my mom pretty much battled a lot of drug addictions. So we lived with I lived with my aunt, my grandmother on both sides. So we kind of lived with different family members. So at that time, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I grew up in Brooklyn. When my aunt took us, we then moved down to North Carolina. And for me, I just chose not to focus on the present circumstance because I knew that it wasn't my permanent circumstance. So I just always knew that I wanted more. For me, the fact that I didn't have anyone to kind of like depend on and rely on, I knew I had to get it out the mud. Like I had to do it. It's no one I can fall back on. I can't ask my mom. I can't ask my dad. So if I want something out of life, I have to get it for myself. So I think I just chose to focus on the possibilities and manifestation and my vision of what I wanted my life to be instead of focusing on, you know, the negative or making it as an excuse of why I can't get things done because I don't have a guidance. So I just started being my own guidance, started to, you know, research the things that I wanted to do in life. I knew that I wanted a lot out of life. So I was the first person in both sides of my family to graduate with. At first, it was just a bachelor's degree. So I just knew that I wanted more. And being in a social work major, statistically, someone like myself would be pregnant at an early age. Hold on one moment, y'all. I don't know. Did it go out? Okay. Somebody like myself, when I started researching, I should have been pregnant, a teenage mom. Well, not should have been, but I had a higher chance at being a teenage mom, not a graduate from high school. College business owner wasn't even in the requirements of the things that someone like myself may not accomplish. So for me, I think I just wanted to break down those barriers. Like, no, I'm not going to be like that. I had my son at 29. So I was like, I'm not going to be a teen mom. I'm going to be a graduate. I'm going to be all these things that someone in my circumstances is not. And then I also have 8 brothers and sisters. 2 were adopted that I've never met before. So I was just like, you know, I just wanted to make sure, you know, I was not a statistic. So I think that was the part for me. I didn't act out. I think because I was scared. I've seen a lot of my siblings. Like I said, I have 8. Whenever we lived with family members and they act out, you know, some of them was placed in a foster care. So for me, I was terrified to be in foster care. So I thought, you know what, I need to be good in school. I need to make sure I don't cause a problem because I'm scared. I'm in Brooklyn. I don't want to go into foster care. So that's what I just started, just making sure I did well in school. I wasn't an issue, you know, and then that's kind of where I ended up, where I'm at now.
So what would you tell that teenage girl or their adult girl that is still a woman that's still facing those battles? Because we got to understand it's women our age. I'm 38. It's all of our age that are still facing these, they haven't overcame, they haven't healed, and they're still facing these battles of not having a father, or father being murdered and mom not being raised from house to house, or dad not being there and can't overcome addiction and then dying, and then all of these things. So what would you tell that little girl?
So here's my thing. Everyone handle things differently. So sometimes it's hard to say, hey, do it like this, and this may not work for that person. But just to know that you can do it, you know what I mean?
Right.
Your past circumstances does not define you. Your present circumstances is not permanent. So if you want it, you have to work hard and you have to get it. And where you're applying your focus, are you focusing on the things that you don't have, or are you focusing on your possibilities? I think that if you switch your focus to the things that you can do and focus on that. But then still some people do have issues that they actually have to overcome. So they may have to get to the root of it, you know, kind of like a flower that's grown. You cannot continue to grow. You have to actually dig at the root and kind of sit and really think about what it is, or maybe talk to someone about it, so that you can get a better understanding and you can grow from there. So I would recommend talking about it. I know in the Black community, we don't like to speak, you know, mental health or things like that, but sometimes that is needed. For me, it wasn't. But then again, some people handle things differently where they need to address that issue before they can move forward in life.
Right. Because see, my thing was, I literally just got over my issue 3 years ago, and we went to a therapist. Because what happened was my issue grew, and it became an issue, and a lot of other issues came up 3 years ago.
Right.
A lot of chaos, and I had a daughter. And we know as mothers, we try to act like we don't understand, but when we're going through something, those kids are going through something.
I agree.
And it bounced off me to my 13-year-old. And she at 13, she 15 now, but at 13, she couldn't handle that. She wasn't capable. I could put on a smile and you could see me on social media and I look like I got it all together, but it was plenty of nights I drove to the water and like, God, why? I don't even want to be here no more. What I'm here for? Like, this don't make no sense. Like, you gave me these parents and now I got to deal with this foolishness. And even though I didn't talk to my child about it, she was old enough to understand and hear and see. So that put her in a depressed stage. So we took it upon ourselves, and I said, I tell anybody, that taboo of not a therapist, listen, God and the therapist saw us through. So it's okay. It's okay to see a therapist. It is okay. And it is crazy because seeing a therapist birthed me and my baby business. Because seeing a therapist, she talked to us in a manner where she gave us insight of what could help us continue to get through. And our businesses basically thrive from that, both of us. So don't think it's you can't go. It's okay to go see a therapist.
It is.
We hung on these things and that's why I wanted to have this tonight, because we got to get over that. Whatever goes on in our house, stay in our house. It do, but at some point, if it's toxic and it's causing damage, it has to be let out. The doors got to be open, the windows got to come up, and it got to go. If not, you're going to have an adult like me at 35 having to revamp your whole mind and life to get it together, because I got to get rid of 35 years of mess that I've allowed to be built up into me. And I had to literally change who Keisha was altogether.
And I think you broke that curse. Imagine if you would have let it continue to go, it would have passed down to your daughter and then her kids, but you stopped it. So I think that's important. And like you said, what goes on in this house state, and we hear that so much that we think we can't talk to a therapist, we can't talk to nobody. So we're in prison in our own mind. Not physically in prison, but mentally we're in prison. So I think that was awesome, amazing that you decided to see someone and kind of stop it there. So now that your daughter doesn't have to go through that, and her daughter, and you broke that curse. So that's
and awesome. One of our other taboos that we have is a child need to stay in a child's place. So for me, my kids don't go around everybody. Because the moment you tell my child they're grown, we're going to have a problem. Because I tell my kids, you speak how you feel as long as you do it respectfully. Because what's not going to happen is you're going to have my child feeling as if they can't say anything. And you're hurting them as an adult. But because you got to stay in the child's place, they got to stay silent. And we all know in this day and age, our kids, because we're making them stay silent, they're joining gangs.
Yeah.
They're going turning to sex and having kids at 12 and 13. They're out in the streets sneaking and getting on the internet and talking to these older men. They're doing all of this extra stuff, and we wonder why it's happening, because we got to stay in the child's place. You give your child a voice. It's a way that they can talk to you by being respectful, because we have to understand as adults, just because we were raised like that doesn't mean it was right.
Right. I agree. I agree.
That doesn't mean it was right. It's a lot of stuff I learned. The therapist was like, oh, we got to throw that out the window. Oh, that got to go out the window. As an adult, we realized that our cousins was double cousins because they didn't did incest and they didn't slept with. But y'all told us we supposed to do this. Hold a minute now. Yeah. So what was we raised off a lie? Because come to find out, Uncle Joe's son is my cousin, and Uncle Joe, who I thought was the cousin, is the nephew. So hold a minute. So now we have started raising our children the way we was raised, and come to find out that was all wrong. It was all a lie. So now we got to break all this stuff down and start over from scratch, trying to raise our kids in a whole nother light. So for Miss Etheridge, what would you tell that woman or a child that has a father like your father? How would you tell them to just whatever you can tell them?
Well, I'm not gonna just say for a girl. I'm a single parent now, and I have a son.
Okay.
He's 22, and his father and I separated when he was 3. So
Okay.
he grew up, I will say, without his father, but um, he didn't let that stop him. And going back to what you just said about the family secrets and stuff, I raised my son to say what he needed to say respectfully to people, and if they had an issue, to tell them to call me. That's just how I handle it.
So, Miss Bess, so now that you have overcame everything, all the obstacles and all of those things, how would you tell people about you now? Tell people about who you are now and what you do. I know, but I need you to tell.
Okay. So I'm a former social worker, and I was a social worker for 5 years. And I like to say I fired my boss, and I became an entrepreneur where I left my job just wanting to start my credit repair company. And what this is, I wanted to break generational curse, right? So a lot of times with the credit thing, a lot of us are unsure about credit and how it works, and we're born with. I say I was born with bad credit because I had bad credit at young. And being that I live with different family members, I never knew how I had bad credit, and I couldn't really blame anyone because I lived with so many different people. My social security number was all over the place. So I feel like I was born with bad credit. I got my credit score to an 812, and I just wanted to help everyone else who was experiencing that. So I started the credit repair company, helping clients become homeowners, business owners, and start investment properties or different kind of businesses and things like that. So for me, it's okay if you don't have the money, because I didn't come from money, but your credit, you can leverage your credit to get the things that you may not be able to afford. Start the business off your credit. Start, home ownership, So that's what my company is about. We just help clients get their credit back on track to get the things that they deserve in life. We're really, really big on home ownership, paying rent, throwing away money. We don't believe in that. We believe in, getting your credit back on track so you can be a homeowner, so you can leave something down to your children besides debt. So that's my motto, and that's how I came up with Empire Professional Services. I started out as a tax business, and a lot of my clients, I'll say, hey, what are you doing with your refund? We'll have that question, and they're like, hey, I got to pay all this money for my down payment on my car, or I got to pay a deposit for my rent, like 2 times the deposit. I have to pay the deposit for the light bill. And I just started to say, well, what happened to the last car? Oh, it broke down. I got it from a buy here, pay here. So I started to realize that the root of a lot of my clients was due to their credit scores. They were paying more for things just because their credit. So that's what kind of prompted me to do the credit repair business. And that's also, my own personal credit issues is what allowed me to help other people.
Okay. Okay. So I already know firsthand she bad at what she do because I'm one of her customers. And that's because I did the same thing. Nobody jacked my credit up. I jacked my own credit up. So
I am back.
you are back. So now I want you to finish telling us about what you would say to just men and women in the world when it comes to having a parent like the one you had.
I must attest, this need to be said because we having all kind of challenges this evening.
Yes, it is. But this don't supposed to be talked about.
All of it.
This definitely don't supposed to be talked about.
Yes. But I would say that I would encourage men or women, young adults, to have effective conversations with their parents, to let them know in a respectful way what they feel, even about their current situation, what they're looking at. Just explain to them how this is making them feel. And if they can't relate it over to their parents, if their grandparents are, in a position to listen and, for it to be effective, or even right now, with school being in, they can talk to their guidance counselors. But I just do believe effective communication in a secure environment, because if a child doesn't feel secure, they're gonna hold it in.
Right.
They will hold it in.
Right. So now that you've overcame all your obstacles, I want you to tell everyone who you are now and what you do.
Oh my gosh, I am.
Yeah. You see, she got
Go
excited.
ahead,
Come
honey.
on now.
It has really truly been a journey. I will be 48 in a few weeks, and it is a stereotype that if your father does not be in a home with you, that you can't succeed or you're going to be a statistic. And I was that I was going to be a different type of statistic. That I was going to outdo what my family said that I couldn't do. That I was going to be like my dad. And here I am. Yes, I'm a single parent. My marriage was bust up. But to me, I made it, and I'm still making it. I have my umbrella business is Momentum
Well, just
Body and
go
Hair.
ahead and name all your businesses. Go ahead and tell them everything you do.
It is my baby is Momentum Body and Hair. I'm a licensed massage practitioner, and I'm a super lock consultant, certified super lock consultant. My next baby is Moray's Custom Jewelry, where I hand make jewelry for men and women. And my third baby is Doula Me Baby, which I am a doula in training. I have two births. Well, I have a birth and a deceased under my belt, and my next baby is to be delivered any day now. Really, her due date is in December, but she's on bed rest, so it's any day now, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
So out of all this, not having fathers in our lives, not having a mother and a father, we have a successful. And when I tell you Miss Bess is a successful credit repair specialist, she not just your average in-house, doing it from the house, printed out. Baby got a whole team. Whole team. They call you like, hi, how you doing? This is I can recite it because I go with her. So how you doing? I'm such and such from Empire, and I'm calling to. So she not your average. I'm doing it out my house business. No, she has a full credit repair services. Yes, yes.
Thank you. Yes. Well,
And then
we
we
have
have Miss.
employees. I
Yes,
always
she
say
has
I went from
employees.
employee to employer
Yes,
because we have 7 staff. So we're responsible for putting food on people's tables, for providing for families. And for that, I'm forever grateful for that.
Yes, and she's amazing, and she hands-on. So if you're looking for a credit repair specialist, please go follow her. Go follow her. Don't follow her personal page, y'all, because she don't answer that too quick. Follow her business page. And then she'll lead you to some other pages she got in cut that can help you do some
Not in the
things.
cup.
Right, in the cut.
Thank you.
And then we have, out of all of that, we have Miss Etheridge that's a doula, a sister lock specialist. She does massages. Listen, and she makes custom jewelry. When I tell you they beautiful, they beautiful. I gotta hurry up and get mine. But listen, we have a whole dynamic team right here between 3 people. And all of us either was fatherless, motherless, or both. So if we can do it, you can do it. And that was the whole point of this YouTube, was to show people that you can knock it out. You can knock all the barriers down and be whoever you was called to be. All you got to do is believe it and walk in it. That's it.
Yeah.
It's 2 things: believe it and walk in it. Don't let nothing around you. Don't let nobody in your ear. Don't worry about what people say. Guess what? Take what they say and put it up under your feet and step on it. Make it a stepping stone. Okay? They gonna tell you you're gonna be like this person, or you gonna turn out like this. Who cares about statistics? They don't matter. It's 3 women right here to show you statistics does not matter. So thank y'all for joining me, and thank y'all for tuning in for the first half of my book, Purpose Knockout. Good night, ladies.
Good night.
Thanks.